All elves becoming neutral. Silvermoon cross-faction. If this is coming true, this is crazy in Wild Midnight, because I've talked about this for a long time, that I think Silvermoon could go cross-faction, and the Silvermoon revamp as an alliance player is something that I really, really want to see. So I'd be fine with this, although I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I hate most of the cross-faction stuff. What they've done with the Night Elves, blasphemy. But let's see what happens here. Let's see what Dorn has to say.
Blood Elves are not really a thing anymore, as you can technically play a High Elf with blue eyes with the Horde, despite them being an Alliance race. Furthermore, High Elves have been a part of the Alliance much.
Also, the Blood Elves themselves now can have golden eyes because they've cleansed the sun well. So, I mean, Blood Elves, yeah, are kind of a thing of the past.
Longer than they had been a part of the Horde. The Void Elves are Blood Elves recently exiled due to worries that are going to corrupt the Sunwell, but the Sunwell is literally going to get corrupted by the Void regardless in about midnight, and they may just be invited back in to help fight this invasion like fire with fire. The new Night Elf capital of Bel'ameth is right off the shore of Quel'Thalas, and it has been confirmed to be a neutral sanctuary, and all of this really makes it seem like not only are the elves and variations going to be turned into a neutral.
Yeah, I said this when we talked about the Night Elf City recently, that it's going to be a neutral faction, a neutral hub. I said that this could mean something for a lot of cities now going forward, and I mentioned Silvermoon could certainly become neutral. I don't know if Gilneas would. That one seems a little less likely, but the other one I was talking about was Undercity / Lordaeron. I said that if they ever rebuild it, that could certainly become a neutral hub city. I mean, Lordaeron is obviously an alliance city from the very beginning, and then all the Lordaeronians got killed, raised as undead, so now there's that. But then you got Calia Menethil sitting on the board for them, so that she's still alliance aligned. So now you could have a Lordaeron hub as well, which is the one that I'd be the most excited for if it ever happened. But somebody mentioned in one of the comments when I said this last time, they were like, I'd be fine with that as long as the undead can still go to the Undercity, and that would just be horde locked, which I'd be cool with. That'd be fine with me. I think that'd be pretty cool. All in all, though, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I don't like cross-faction stuff. I don't. But it is what it is, where the game's going.
New big Silvermoon is going to turn into a neutral hub as well, with all the revamp hints for Wild Midnight. So, are elves becoming a neutral race? What will new Silvermoon look like? And are we in for a huge revamp?
Yeah, we'll do a quick
not
normal
only to
clear
factions,
today.
But character customization
get some flight stones,
as
get some
well.
Shit.
Did you know you can play WoW directly on your phone?
There's
well,
still
this
reasons to do normal.
Also, you can control your PC with your phone completely free, and it is available for Windows, iOS, and Android. It is super easy to use. Use my link to download it, get the phone and the PC app, and just connect it. Hot sales with up to 40% off on Pro and Game versions. Check out awesome.
Rips him.
So at the moment we got 4 Elven races available, and all of them share the exact same heritage. They used to be Dark Trolls in the past, impacted by the Well of Eternity, which is Azeroth, then Night Elves, and then they split into the variations we have today. So the Horde has the Blood Elves and the Nightborn, while the Alliance has the Night Elves and the Void Elves. Lore-wise, all of these races have a lot more affinity towards the Alliance historically than they do towards the Horde. Only the Nightborn might
there was even a point during Cataclysm, was it? Or when Garrosh took over. It was after Cataclysm. When Garrosh took over, there was a point where the Blood Elves actually considered going back to the Alliance. There was a time when that happened. Same with the Tauren, actually. They almost went back to they almost went to the Alliance. But this whole Alliance Horde faction stuff with the Blood Elves has always been questionable.
Different, but that is because of the fasting situation at the time and the massive faction war that was going on. They're really not connected to the Horde in any other way. However, times have changed, and I mean significantly changed, and I really don't think there is any going back anymore. The factions are at peace, they have been at peace for a while, and Blizzard confirmed that we shouldn't be expecting any types of big faction conflicts at any point further. So, realistically, the Horde and the Alliance right now really seem like relics of the past, and Blizzard seems to be making this distinction less relevant each passing day with every new hint they release. Now, Before you say this is just my opinion, just look at the recent history. In fact, let's look at what we have. First of all, the last 2 races we got added to the game were neutral, the Draktyr and the Earthen, and the way it is set up, I feel like every race in the future is going to be working in the exact same manner. It is going to be a neutral race that is going to be able to pick a faction.
Probably every race they add.
Faction-specific races made a lot of sense.
They're gonna add Tuskar, right? I've said it many times. Tuskar are gonna be added by the end of Dragonflight. I told you guys, bookmark it. It's gonna happen, and they're gonna be a neutral race. That's what's. I feel like every race that gets added from now on is just gonna be neutral.
Sense because both the Horde and the Alliance were at war. They were trying to recruit the available races, offering them benefits to use them against the other faction. Even races that are unplayable join that way, like the Hosen and the Jinyu back in Pandaria. However, right now it doesn't seem like it will be happening anytime soon, especially as we got 3 next expansions laid out, and none of them have any hints of faction conflict happening within them. Furthermore, other changes started happening at the same time. First off, the Reclamation of Gilneas is happening in 10.2.5, which is
January, man, next month.
Kingdom. Like, this is the founder of the original alliance, and spoiler alert, but all the data mine hints at the moment are pointing that this is a joint Horde alliance effort to free this kingdom. Second,
really?
What I think really sealed the deal and confirmed that this is the way to go forward with other things as well is that Blizzard has literally turned the new Night Elf capital, the new Darnassus, Bel'ameth, into a neutral hub, allowing the...
I'll be honest, man, the whole neutral hub Night Elf thing makes no sense to me. The Silvermoon, okay, you can write it into the lore a little bit, it makes sense. You know, all these elves, the Blood Elves, were they really ever Horde? Yeah, kind of, but they were Alliance prior, so there's a lot of, like, back and forth in terms of, like, whether the elves are on the Alliance or Horde. They're on both sides. You can pick either one. But the Night Elves, allowing the Horde to come to their city only, like, in game time 10 years after the burning of Teldrassil, that's wild to me. That's wild. Like, they are in this new city because the Horde burned down their old one. A lot of the Horde, it wasn't just Sylvanas, a lot of the Horde participated in this and burnt that shit to the ground and had an all-out battle with the Night Elves. And the Night Elves are like, yeah, you know, our Sentinels are watching you, but you can come to our city. It makes no sense.
Horde to come and sort of live here. Now, previously, I've made a video about
genocide,
this,
but you're allowed to
the
come.
Horde can do anything from the flight path to the Innkeeper. People were saying this might just be the PTR, but in the new PTR build, Bel'ameth is literally called a sanctuary. We got Horde quest text and NPCs referencing how the Horde is coming here as well. So I think it is safe to say at this point in time that it is 100% confirmed Bel'ameth is a Horde city as much as it is an Alliance one. I can't say I like this all that much, but if I told you previously that the new Night Elf capital would be a Horde city like 7 years after the burning of Teldrassil, you would think I was crazy. So I don't think it is crazy at all to say that the elves are becoming neutral as well as Silvermoon. And let me explain to you why I think this is the case, because I think there is quite a bit of evidence. We got a few pretty strong hints going on at the moment. The biggest hints are the ones where Blizzard has actually confirmed in an interview what is happening. At the moment, some are very vague statements, but we can kind of decipher what is going on. So they told us, obviously you've heard about this, that a big focus around midnight is going to be on uniting the Elven tribes. And as I just previously stated, all elves share the exact same heritage, which is they used to be trolls and then night elves in the past. One thing to keep in mind is Bel'ameth in the entire neutral situation that is...
It goes trolls, night elves, and then so trolls became night elves because they were next to the what's it called? The freaking thing in the middle of the world. And then after from Night Elves, they got an affinity for arcane magic, became High Elves. From High Elves, they split off from there and into Blood Elves. And from Blood Elves, some of them became Void Elves. That's literally like the progression of time of how they became who they are.
Going on. I'm sure most of you can agree with me here, but it isn't really the best idea that the Night Elven capital is on the Dragon Isles and that it is neutral, but I actually think
some never became Blood Elves, they're still High Elves out there.
Setup for WoW Midnight, and that it will make more sense later down the line, despite right now being just downright insulting to the Night Elves at this point in time. So the invasion was confirmed by Blizzard to happen through the Sunwell in Midnight, which is in Quel'Danas, in the northernmost part of the Eastern Kingdoms. Right next to Quel'Danas are the Dragon Night Elves and Bel'ameth, and I think this is exactly why they decided to put the city here so that it can be relevant in
Still
the
don't like that
expansion
decision
and that
either.
it can actually be used. Now, I'm going to throw a few facts at you so you can kind of take it as you will, but we got a few key things going on around the same time, although it is kind of vague. One is that the Sunwell was literally created from the Well of Eternity, aka vials of the blood of Azeroth, and then it was reignited by a Naru, and as you may know, Naru tend to have this complete opposite like void and light cycle. Blizzard strongly hinted in an interview that this Naru is going to be a huge part of why the invasion is going to happen through the Sunwell, and that the Light Army will be a big part of this expansion. Second is the hint that I feel like people have forgotten a bit recently. So we got the hints of the first ever world tree that was planted upon Old God corruption.
That's right.
In order
We did
to
talk
cleanse
about
it
this.
in the ancient history. It was called Eluna here. Right at the start of Dragonfight, as we had the time travel scenario, we got brand new Old God hints. That
We'll probably see more of the roots of this first world tree as we advance through the War Within. Because remember the new War Within, location where we're going to be, that new island thing. It's very vertical. That's what they said. This is a vertical expansion. So we're going to go down into the ground underneath. And as we go deeper, we'll probably find roots and stuff. And deeper the roots will grow, as Nazath said. So it could be interesting to see what those mean.
Deeper its roots will grow, welcoming our...
I did not pre-watch this. It's just great minds think alike, you know.
Well,
Doran
the
and I.
Nether Seal was planted right around where the epicenter of the new Void invasion is going to happen. Now, this quote could also be referring to Luna here, the first massive world tree, but it could be related to a Nether Seal as well.
Scripted,
My point is that the Void invasion could spill over, and that big things could also be happening in Bel'ameth in Midnight. All of this could connect to the Night Elves, the original elves, and their variations, as they're essentially going to share the same struggle, which is the Void invasion. The second big thing that I think is going to be super big is that the Void Elves are going to be ones that are going to bridge the gap here between the factions. As you may have noticed,
look, and the thing is, the Void in Midnight is supposed to attack the Sunwell, and all elves, whether they are Void Elves, High Elves, Blood Elves, all the High Elf-ish elves, still like have it's almost like a religious affinity for the Sunwell. They will protect it at all costs. If you ever made a Void Elf, you actually get to go visit the Sunwell, and part of the reason why you get to do that is because they talk about that it's a right for all elves to visit the Sunwell. Like it's a rite of passage. And then something happens while you're there, the Void pops out and all this shit goes down, and then people question whether Void Elves should be allowed to come back or not. But them attacking the Sunwell is going to be a uniting factor for these elves, because that is something that they all see as like, it's part of their religion almost.
Is going to be one of the key characters of the entire World Soul saga, and she is a high elf that was turned into a void elf. Super quick lore lesson here, but remember the void elf quest time. Void elf presence started creating crazy things with the Sunwell.
He's talking
and
about
the
it now.
Blood Elves were worried they're going to corrupt it, so
I did not pre-watch this.
Just exile the void elves, and then the void elves had joined the alliance. Keep in mind, the Void Elves used to be a part of the Horde like just a few years back, like they were just Blood Elves. Now, the Void invasion is actually happening through the Sunwell, and I think Lortimer and the Blood Elves are going to be inviting them back so they can help them cleanse it, which is going to be this like huge reconciliation storyline. Another thing you need to keep in mind, which I think is a big part as well, historically, Blood Elves, aka High Elves, had been a part of the Alliance a lot longer, and I mean a lot
They were like the
longer
first.
than it had been a part of the Horde. Thousands of years ago.
For a long time, it was just humans and High Elves. That was the alliance for a long time.
Kingdom of Venator, the elves waged war against the trolls. The elves
fighting against the Amani trolls.
Magic, therefore essentially founding Dalaran indirectly. Even Illyria and Tyrellian were a part of another variation of the alliance. The Blood Elves decided to join the Horde, sort of an accident, like due to the super specific current political situation and Sylvanas. However, they had been alliance affiliated for thousands of years. Furthermore, due to the Scourge invasion, High Elves split into High Elves and Blood Elves. These High Elves were just elves that lived in human kingdoms, as they were friendly at the time. Literally, the only difference between these two races was that the Blood Elves had been so desperate, so they had embraced spell magic with Kiltas, and they had gotten green eyes, while the High Elves had the regular eyes. Now, if you might have noticed, there is this little detail, and that is that the Blood Elves don't really exist anymore. They aren't really a thing. I mean, sure, you can get green eyes with the customization, but you can get a lot other customizations as well, and technically, High Elves are playable.
And remember, the eyes mean a lot. Remember that? We
and
talked
now
about
with
that.
blue eyes, but only as a part of the Horde, despite technically being an alliance race. Blizzard even explained this recently in an interview how the green eye thing is a thing of the past, so
Yeah.
it's not really going to happen anymore.
It's almost like green orcs. Even green orcs, lore-wise, it's kind of a thing of the past at this point. Like, you could still make a green orc, but technically that fell magic that they, the blood of Manoroth that they drank, it should have faded by now. Which is why you got Magar orcs, and even regular orcs, you can change their skin color to what is like, that almost brownish, that's the original orc skin color. So all this fell magic has kind of seeped away, so he is right. Blood elves they're not really a thing anymore.
So right now, the Blood Elves and the Nightborn are the least Horde races of all the Horde races. There is absolutely nothing that is holding them to the faction. Factions are essentially united right now, and historically they have been a part of both, and are more Alliance affiliated than Horde affiliated. And the political situation is so different right now than it was back in TBC, so it really makes no sense.
Yeah, we're all
to
friends
keep the
now.
same order. The Nightborn, on the other hand, couldn't care less about the factions. I mean, they just joined the Blood Elves.
I'm not gonna lie, when the Nightborn went Horde, I was kind of pissed. I was like, what the fuck? Why are they going Horde? Make no sense. But it was what it was. We can all agree the Nightborn were the cooler of the races to get at that time, and the Horde won that one.
Less about the factions. I mean, they just joined the Blood Elves because they were welcoming at the time, and there was a really specific situation going on as well. The Nightborn
Blood
are
Elves
really
have a
more affiliated to the Night Elves than anyone else when you look at it historically. So let me explain to you how I think this is going to be happening in Midnight. First of all, the revamp of Quarterlast was said to be huge, much different than just updated graphics, and essentially
it's gonna be a
the
massive
Silvermoon
revamp.
is going to be reconstructed. Seeing that you can't even fly here, and that Silvermoon,
Nightborn
when you
should have
look
been
at it from
neutral,
above, looks like an unfinished.
If you remember the Nightborn, when we retake their city and everything like that, they actually that whole battle scene is the Blood Elves and the Night Elves and the Nightborn coming together. So the Nightborn were fighting side by side with Horde and Alliance. I thought they'd be they should have been neutral, but at the time, I guess that wasn't what Blizzard was
they're
thinking.
essentially going to reconstruct the entire city from scratch, fixing the broken parts, making it
Finally.
larger, and also probably removing the Kelta statues.
I can't wait to see
Silvermoon. No
Silvermoon
longer really relevant.
revamped.
When the Void Invasion happens north, I think all elves are really going to unite at this point here. The Nightborn are already here. The High Elves, the Alliance ones, are probably going to return, and the Void Elves are going to be coming back to help save it from the Void Invasion, and they're going to be like the Demon Hunters and like Fel, just like a Void version, so they're gonna help fight fire with fire. Seeing that Bel'ameth...
And one thing about Demon Hunters, too, is they're technically not really faction aligned. They're not. Demon Hunters can be Blood Elves or Night Elves, right? So from either faction, but they don't give a shit about either faction anymore. Once they become a Demon Hunter, they are of like the Demon Hunter faction. They're just one group. They fight side by side. They don't care about which faction they came from originally.
Is up there as well with the other elves and is already neutral. It seems highly likely that Silvermoon is going to be a sanctuary as well. So what I see happening is that they're going to
they're going to fix the front
whole
gate. They should.
Customization page, and that the elves are going to turn much like the Pandaren. However, you're going to be able to choose like various variations, sort of similar to customization. So you like pick elves, and then you can choose. You can be a High Elf, you can be a Blood Elf, you can be a Nightborn, you can be a Void Elf, and then you can pick the faction. And
they should do that.
More like mega orcs and regular orcs, or
that'd be a good thing because honestly, the customization screen's getting the race selection screen's getting a bit crowded. It's a bit much.
Lightforged Draenei and regular Draenei.
And they're gonna add Tuskar, so they gotta make some room.
A different customization. Although technically, I do feel like the Blood Elves might not even really be a thing anymore, and they might just be High Elves, although they might just keep the name due to the nostalgia and everything else. As Silvermoon, he has like two major parts. They could maintain some sort of faction relation, so they could split it into like bits, sort of similar to Dalaran with the Horde and the Alliance side. But overall, I don't think any of the current Elven races have all that much to do with factions, and they really should be able to pick sides depending on what they want to do. Furthermore, this might be a bit more of a crazier theory, but I do feel like the Naga returning as well could be huge in Midnight, and maybe they could be a playable race as well. We know for a fact that Ashara is coming back. I mean, that is as good as confirmed, and they're yet another Elven race forcefully converted by the old gods. And remember, in the past, Naga worked together with the Blood Elves through Keltas and Lady Vash. So I could also see the resurgence of the Naga here, like back in Warcraft 3 when they came here during the Scourge invasion, and maybe a fraction of them actually joining. Blizzard already confirmed they have other races, and keep in mind here, races plural other than the Earthen ready for the World Soul Saga.
They confirmed that? I didn't know that.
Be one of those as well. However, I think this is sort of the point of no going back, and I do predict a major change with the entire customization screen, and that it might not be the same as it is right now, with similar races being separate.
It's
Thanks
actually...
for watching. Check out how Kazakar is so much more than you think by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
This is actually not that far-fetched of a Doran prediction. I'll be honest. He is becoming Doran the truth teller. I think there's a lot of truth to this video. I definitely think the Silvermoon revamp is going to be not just an upgrade in graphics, but a massive revamp, remaking the city completely, fixing that front gate, and yeah, making it a hub city. What up, Foul? Great video from Doran.